but we love it if you either watch TalkTV or indeed listen on Talk Radio. Either one of them, absolutely fine. Great to have your company, and I'm here between now and 1 o'clock. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call if you want to talk about anything, including our next item, which we've already had a call on today. This is domestic violence against men, because today is International Men's Day, and it recognises and celebrates the cultural, political, socio-economic achievements of men. But there's one aspect that's often overlooked, and that's violence and abuse towards men. And there's been an author called LYNNE RENOIR who has written a book about the abuse of men, because domestic abuse has increased dramatically over the past few decades, with sharp spikes occurring globally, especially throughout COVID, through the lockdown. So Lynn's book is called The Abuse of Men, and she is a history of abuse herself. Lynn is with us now. Her name is LYNNE Renoir. Very good to have you with us, Lynn. I think you're joining us from Australia, if I'm correct.
That's right, yes.
Well, very, very good of you to join us. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Lynn, maybe you could just tell us why you decided to write this book.
Well, it started through my work as a massage therapist. A lot of my patients were men, and some of them began to tell me about the cruel ways that their partner was treating them. So I then decided that I would look into the whole question of the way men are abused by women.
So that was you were having those conversations, and had you been a victim yourself, Lynn?
Oh yes, my father was a fundamentalist Christian, and he believed that every word in the Bible had been dictated by God. And he was particularly attracted to the words of Solomon, that he must use the rod to discipline his child. So he went out into the bush one day and broke off a branch and made a cane. And he used that cane to beat me on the bottom whenever I had done anything trivial, like forgetting to say goodnight or losing something or having an accident. And this abuse went right throughout my teenage years until I eventually had the courage to leave home at the age of 23.
Goodness me, I mean, that was just sadism, really. That was just him being a violent bully.
Oh yes, but he believed he was doing the will of God.
Goodness me. So you were aware, you were obviously very painfully and over such a long time had been abused yourself, and then when men started to tell you about this, you started some activism in this area. So just tell us about what came after the men telling you when you were a therapist and when you were talking to them. What happened after that? How did you get from there to writing this book?
Well, I was very deeply moved by the stories that men told me. Would you like me to go into some of those stories?
Yeah, tell us some examples, definitely.
Please? All right. Well, with physical abuse, one man told me that his partner had actually burnt a hole in his arm.
We just need to be careful, Lynn. Obviously, we can talk about that in general terms, but obviously there will be children listening and things, so we just need to be quite careful. But there is obviously a lot of violence against men.
Yes. Well, do you want me to keep going with these?
Yeah, just in general terms, if you would, without describing anything maybe too graphic.
Oh, okay. Yes, well, women would use any kind of excuse under the sun to hit men or scratch them or do anything that they could to try to get the man to do what they wanted.
And that's something which is clearly a massive problem. We've had quite a reaction to this as well, Lynn. How can your book help people?
Well, I think the book can help people understand the way society is prejudiced against men. For example, the media will never run stories of men who are abused by women. And as far as the police are concerned, they find it very difficult to accept the fact that a man could be abused by a woman. And then in the family court, it's nearly always the case that the court will award custody of children to the woman, even when there is strong evidence against the woman.
You're obviously a woman yourself, and you're someone who has a lot of sympathy with men. Have people been criticised you for that? Have they in any way had a negative reaction to the fact you've written this book?
Well, so far I haven't had any, but then the book hasn't been out for very long, so I'm expecting some criticism when people read the book.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen, thank you so much. We wish you well with that. That's LYNNE RENOIR, who's the author of Abuse of Men, who wants to talk and has talked very, very clearly there, very movingly actually, about the men that she has talked to. The book is called The Abuse of Men. We're talking about this because it's International Men's Day, and we've had a number of people getting in touch with us about this. One of them is Alan in Suffolk, who gave us a call on 0344 499